So we want to welcome you guys to another broadcast of our entrepreneur series. And so today we have Ciarza Digital with us, and they are going to be going over. And so again, we want to thank you guys all for joining. Today in the world that we're living in, we're having to pivot a lot, and a lot of businesses are going from brick and mortar onto online. And so today we have the pleasure of learning about ways that we can do that, and kind of ways that our businesses can market online. And so with us, we have Danielle Lucero and River Marquez, who are going to offer awesome information to the community. And so from there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn it over to you guys. We are excited to learn, and we just want to thank you guys for being here today.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. We're excited to give some tips and tricks and some things that we've learned over the last year. I'm going to turn it over to River. He's going to tell you a little bit about Ciarza Social Digital, what we specialize in, and kind of what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Ayala, thanks so much for having us. My name is River Marquez, and I'm an account executive. Danielle Lucero is our client experience manager, and we're so happy to be here. Ciarza Social Digital has been operating since 2014. It was founded by Crystal Ciarza, our lovely CEO. We are a minority and woman-owned business. Crystal Ciarza herself is Asian American. We serve so many industries and so many different clients across those industries. Some of them are hospitality, finance. We help a lot of nonprofit associations, and we have other contracts in medical and health, government, restaurants, retail, education, to name a few. So we have our clients that span across the state and across the United States, and have also had a couple of clients that are actually more global reaching. We have won awards for our strategies, specifically surrounding social media, and we love to give back to the community in any way, shape, or form. So we donate hundreds of hours worth of our time to nonprofit organizations and helping wherever we can in the community. 2021/2020 has been a year, I'm sure everyone can agree. So we wanted to go through what we learned in 2020 and give some key takeaways moving into the digital world. Black-owned businesses were hit particularly hard by the pandemic and by the ensuing closures. 40% of Black-owned businesses were shuttered during the pandemic, and that is compared to the only 17% of white-owned businesses that were shuttered at the same time. 31% of Black-owned businesses reported less than 25% of their pre-COVID revenue returning with reopenings across the US. And only 2% of Black-owned businesses were able to receive PPP or Paycheck Protection Program loans as part of the CARES Act that went out last year. Unfortunately, more than 90% of small businesses in majority Black communities only hold cash reserves that are equal or less than 2 weeks of their operating capital. So they're more likely to run out of cash when customers stay at home, according to JP Morgan Chase. 2 weeks is not a lot of time for organizations to have cash on hand and support themselves further out than that. And that is why digital has become so important. Companies like PayPal, Pepsi, and Facebook committed 530 million, 400 million, and 100 million to Black-owned businesses in 2020, respectively, to name just a few of the organizations that have stepped up in this past year to help out organizations that they're seeing are struggling. Google searches for Black-owned businesses near me reached an all-time high between May 31st and June 10th, and that's according to a survey by the Black Chamber of Commerce. Around 75% of Black-owned small businesses saw upticks in customers in the 2 months following George Floyd's death. The reason that they all committed so much money, and the reason that so many good things have been happening for Black-owned businesses, was because of the social media revolution that took place over the past year. While it might not be necessarily cause and effect, it is definitely correlative.
And with shutdowns that we saw across the nation, we did see this increased need for customers to really want to connect with businesses, in particular local businesses. They understood that they needed to rally around their favorite restaurants, their favorite boutiques, so that they could keep them in business essentially. And so there were a lot of virtual or social distance events where businesses were able to get really creative and find ways in which they could reach their customers. And so if we jump back a couple of slides, we can kind of talk about some of those virtual or social distance alternatives. And the first one we saw a lot with restaurants, breweries did this a lot, and sometimes they would partner up where you'd see these like take-home kits where you could buy kind of a pre-boxed or bagged kit of, maybe a spa would put something together, or like breweries did kind of a beer and food pairing where people could pre-purchase those things, pick them up, and then have sort of an experience in their home. And sometimes, you could do sort of like, I know masterclass was a big revolution and that kind of kicked off in 2019 where everyone wanted to learn something from home. And so, having something that people could follow along online or just experience the products on their own if they were having what everyone's referring to as Zoom fatigue, which is a real thing. So having those sort of virtual alternatives or just something they can experience at home is great. Now that the weather is warming up, there is this huge opportunity, if it's applicable to your business, to take your services outside. So of course, the first thing that comes to mind for people is, exercise. So having yoga classes outside or personal training sessions. But I think there's a big opportunity with educational services as well, having music lessons outside or, tutoring or whatever your business might be. If there is an opportunity to meet your customers at a park or on a patio, somehow you can get out of your four walls of your business. Those are going to be really great ways to reach customers who still might not be super comfortable with going and dining out or walking into a store and sharing space with others. There is also I feel like a lot of business owners feel like it's a negative thing to have this kind of limited or be functioning at a limited capacity where you can only let so many customers in your door. We've found a way to kind of flip that where even if it is kind of a negative thing that you're having to deal with as a business owner, you want to make it a positive experience for your customer. So this is really an opportunity to make your customer feel special, like they're having kind of an exclusive experience with your business. We have worked with a couple of different clients who have turned this limited capacity hindrance into a way in which they can cherry pick people that come to an event. So it could be their top spending customers that they want to kind of show some appreciation to. Or you can pick, social media influencers who might be able to come in and spread brand awareness about your business to your target markets. And so really think about the ways that you can create these intimate events and make your customer feel really special, even though you're just really operating at the limited capacity that you're allowed to.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Yeah, that's
I think we have so many questions. Alex, go ahead.
no, this is so great. And first of all, I want to say just thank you to the CRs group for actually coming and doing this. I didn't get to give my kudos to the countless hours that you all donate to the community. Your time and expertise is definitely appreciated. I had a quick question on just, from some of the businesses that we've worked with, a lot of them are small retailers, right? So what would be like the first step? Like, okay, I know I need to go virtual. I know I need to go digital. I'm a small retail shop. Like, where do I start? How do I start this? And I really haven't done anything on social media before. And I'm just new to it. I don't know how to do it.
I think the most important thing, because there are so many different ways that you can go digital now, right? It's not just having a website. It's not just having a Facebook page. There's so many different channels out there that you can reach customers. I think the first step is figuring out where are your customers, where are they spending their time? And so, you can do this just having, and we talk a little bit about this in some of the upcoming slides, but really listening to your customers. And that could be through surveys, that could be through people walking through your door. If you're delivering, just kind of like asking at their doorstep or leaving, a leave behind of, hey, we want to know like how we're doing. Do you like these new services that we're offering? And how did you hear about us? And where are you looking to for information? We know now that a lot of our clients, we were doing lots of real-time updates on when they were opening, hours of operation, and people were really turning to the website or to social media to answer those questions. And so I think that just figuring out where your customer base is where you need to first figure out, and then also that will lead you to making the right investments and spending your energy in the right way. And we'll jump into more detail on that in the slides to come. But River, if you want to build on that a little bit.
Yeah, like Danielle was saying, this is an excellent time to connect with your customers. And you can really use this limited entry and flip it as a positive into, just being really choosy and specific with the people who you partner with. Partner with people who are in your community, who have the audience that speaks to your vision and to your customer base. And that's what it's all about, is finding the correct channel or the right channel that will allow you to really do that in the most effective way and in the best way that's the most comfortable for you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, River, is if you feel like Facebook in and out, work on your Facebook and let people know to turn to your Facebook page for information. So I think that it's really intimidating to take on a new channel. And if you feel like you're doing a great job in one place, direct your customers to whatever that is so that they get the information that you're putting out there.
Yes, and that's so good. And I think too, the question that I had, I know you were talking a little bit about when people do pivot to go online, and how you were saying, certain events, doing that outside, changing the norm. What would you recommend as far as if people are doing that? Is there one way that's better than another to advertise them doing something like that? Or do you guys find in your experience that there's certain ways? I mean, I know I've heard like a video versus just a post, or is there certain ways to get people engaged in doing something like that?
Yeah, I think that, incentivizing people is always great. So if you are, a small retailer and you're going to have a sidewalk sale and take your racks outside, and you're going to like kind of make an event of it, and you're inviting people, ask them to, invite or tag other people on your post. Offer them a discount on the day of if they show review that they've done, ask them to do. You can offer them a small discount, or early entry event, talking about this, like how do you make this a really special experience for your customers. So I think there are a number of ways that you can get the word out. But again, if you feel like your fan base, your customer base is turning to your Instagram or to your website, just make sure that you're giving them as much information and everything they need to know on those channels where they're listening.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
So when we think of retail, we think of e-commerce. And so if we jump into the next slide, we can talk a little bit more about that. I think 2020 was really eye-opening for businesses that maybe have, a very simple website or hadn't made the transition to having a website at all, where they realized there really is this need to have kind of a home base where people can turn to. And an e-commerce website is a huge undertaking. Sometimes it's really costly, or if you're doing everything on your own, you may not have the knowledge base to adapt, an e-commerce website to what you're currently doing. But there are some alternatives, and obviously delivery businesses did exceptionally well in 2020. And so if we talk about, national retailers, which we know that there are some flaws in the way that they operate, but things like Uber Eats and DoorDash, obviously restaurants were able to work closely with them. But they're also, I would always encourage businesses to look at alternatives to some of those large organizations. So Selflane is a perfect example of a local business that is commission-free delivery. So it's a really easy way to adapt something that people are using, and kind of, you're not losing money in the process. But even if you have a website that is, a Squarespace or a Wix, there are e-commerce options for those types of websites now. And so, there are tons of plugins and systems that you can integrate into your current website. And so, like I said, that isn't a big undertaking. So we've had nonprofits that, in a pinch wanted to sell some merchandise, and they just kind of created a page and uploaded the product photos, but then had a link to a Google form where people could order that merchandise. They were able to get that up within a couple of days without having to build a new web page, integrate e-commerce. So, it's not, ideally what you would want to do, but if you are in a pinch, there are options like that. You can also, a lot of people don't know this, there is a way to partner with Amazon to sell your products on Amazon. If you have a very niche product or do custom products, Etsy is also a great place to sell your items, where again, you're not having to build a brand new shiny website with all of these great e-commerce plugins. If that's your goal and you have the means to do that, of course, that's ideal. But there are lots of other options out there for you in terms of e-commerce. And River, do you want to talk about some of the kind of local organizations and I guess national organizations too that are in place that offer some e-commerce options for small businesses?
Yeah, of course. If we want to jump into the next slide, we can talk a little bit more about that. So things that can very much help you when we are moving into some of this more technical stuff on the e-commerce side are just really simple tips, making sure that you're including shopping links on your social profiles like Instagram. There are a lot of tools, one of them being Linktree. That means that you can actually add multiple links to your profile. So you might be able to link off to maybe your ordering service if it's different from your website. And if that's different from your e-commerce site, or even if you do want to link to your other social media through there. There are great ways to partner with many different organizations and engage with the community. Throughout the pandemic, there were a lot of hashtags that were used in businesses or by businesses throughout New Mexico and throughout Albuquerque and Santa Fe and other major areas that really did help the community to kind of come together and support local. Some of those include hashtag Made in NM, Made in the 505, ABQ Made, New Mexico True, and New Mexico Makers, as well as support local, and those were specific to each zone, like support local ABQ or support local SF for Santa Fe, and support local NM.
And I think that there's, this is a really great way to reach new audiences who might just be following these hashtags. And then, of course, always keep in mind that there are trending hashtags where you can find customers that are relevant, specific to your industry or to your products or services.
And if we want to jump into the next slide, we can talk about how you can tap into other existing companies who can help showcase your products. So some of these for New Mexico include Made in New Mexico, 9 to 5 Provisions, and Albuquerque in a Box that are actually local collectives where you can feature your individual products. And there are also a lot of community initiatives that you can use to increase your brand awareness, drive traffic and sales opportunities to your website. Buylocal.com is a really good one for New Mexico. But I think the most important thing is to think about choosing and prioritizing the right digital platforms for you. So if we want to skip to the next slide, the most important thing whenever we start any project, it's always research, right? Where is your audience is basically the question that you're trying to answer. So if you don't have a marketing team behind you, it can be difficult to decide how best you should be spending your time, because marketing a business and running the business at the same time is really difficult, if not impossible. You can't be an expert in everything, and you can't divide your time trying to tackle everything at once, right? So do you receive a lot of frequent reviews on Yelp, Google, or Facebook? If you do email marketing, what do your email open rates look like? And what pages are maybe most visited for your website, or which pages do users spend the most time on? If you do frequently get a lot of people who are engaging in reviewing on Facebook and Yelp or Google, think about how you can repurpose some of that for social media content that you're putting out there for Facebook or Instagram. And if you are seeing a lot of Google reviews come in, think about how you might be able to utilize Google My Business, which is a completely free platform that Google offers for when people are searching like barbecue in the area. Yours could be one of the first ones to come up. If it's updated regularly and if it has good images and good reviews, it will continuously be one of the ones that's at the top of the page. Same thing for Yelp. You can claim your Yelp account or claim your location on Yelp so that you can send out instant hours updates or any changes, and then just kind of engage with the photos that are being placed by customers. If you're spending a lot of time and energy on email marketing, but are seeing low open rates, which do vary across industries and list sizes, then maybe consider sending less frequent emails that might be more impactful, or put energy into other avenues that are yielding results. And think about other ways or digital activities that you can be spending time on.
And so I think that this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, and something that Alex was asking specifically is, okay, where are we going to spend these efforts? So when River said, are you getting a lot of reviews on Google or Yelp? Well, maybe you've never even thought, like, I should be paying more attention to those reviews. Responding to those reviews are really great in terms of strengthening connections with your customers, addressing issues. But if they're raving about this new delivery service you rolled out, or curbside pickup, those are all things that are going to be really helpful in determining how you're going to shift your business or keep doing what you're doing in 2021 and even beyond that. And so, as customers come in the store, especially ones that you're familiar with, ask them, if you're looking to see when we're open, where do you go look? Do you check out our website? How frequently do you check our website? Are you signed up for our newsletters? You're going to get a lot of information just by having those conversations. And also look at your sales over the last 12 months. Compare 2020 to 2019. Look at your web traffic. How much did that increase in 2020? And pay attention to what that's going to look like in 2021. Now that you're able to operate, with your storefront open, are you going to see online sales drop, or are they going to stay consistent? That's really going to help you in terms of how you're marketing and how you're running your business. And then, of course, utilize your existing data. So, using your email list, using, if you're doing text message marketing, that's all stuff that you can use to retarget customers who maybe haven't visited you in a while, or to let people know that now you are open, or now you are having these, special events that they can come to. So make sure that you're tapping into your loyal following, because that's kind of your low-hanging fruit. And then from there, you can kind of start to look at how you are going to reach new audiences.
And I think oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that you're talking about reaching your customers now and having like an interaction. So would you like also like recommend like, hey, like maybe I keep some survey questions that I'm asking all my clients coming in, and then also like, what are like some good systems that I should use if I haven't been using like a client relation management software or anything like that? Like, where would I start from there to just start collecting that information?
Yeah. So I'll tackle the first part of that question, and then I'll let River dive into the second part. So surveys are awesome, and there's a few different ways that you can send out a survey, right? If they've placed an order online, send it in their email with their receipt. You can, if you're doing email newsletters, you can include a link to that. Facebook polls, Instagram polls, if you have a very simple question like, hey, we're thinking about continuing curbside service. Is this something that you would continue to use? People can just do a real simple yes or no. And so, yeah, surveying your customers, it doesn't have to be in person, is a great way to kind of help you decide what you should be doing. And then, yeah, River, if you want to talk a little bit about resources and the list that you kind of put together for everyone here today.
Yeah, so where to start? That is such an excellent question, and I think that question is one that's difficult to answer, right? Like there are so many places that you could be doing. If there's anything that we talked about, it's that there are tons of options, and a lot of them are free. So if you've thought about some of these things and you're like, well, we could do email marketing, but we don't really know where to start, or we have a website, but we don't really track the numbers. How do we even get to start doing that? So there are a lot of free resources that do help you, at least to start out. So for email marketing, if you'd like to start, there are great services like Mailchimp. Mailchimp is a completely free service that will not only allow you to build out what the email looks like in Mailchimp, but also to send it and then to track things like open rates, deliveries, and then if you do get any new subscribers or if you get any people who might be unsubscribing from your email list. It also can house your email data bank. So like if you do have a customer list, you can just easily import that over. For graphic design, there are resources like Canva, which is a great one that we use all the time. Canva just kind of allows you to think a little bit more creatively about the marketing that you're putting out. Do you need to put together a flyer, or maybe are you looking to put together simple questions that you could use for social media? Canva is an excellent way to start. If you're thinking about beefing up your social media presence, Facebook by itself has a lot of really good built-in scheduling tools. It also does a really good job of tracking analytics for things like posts and followers. But Hootsuite, which is another social media scheduling platform, will allow you to take that to the next level with integrations into Instagram and Twitter. Instagram has recently beefed up its analytics tools for business accounts, and switching over your Instagram to a business profile is completely free, and it's really like 3 clicks of a button, and you'll be able to see like how many people are viewing your posts and what kind of engagement you're getting on them. Google Analytics, like I was mentioning, is a great way and great integration for any of the websites that you might be having that you might have. It's free to implement, and the trainings themselves are free as well. So there are plenty of tutorials to show you how to set it up and then how to use it and how to best use it specifically for e-commerce. And like we were mentioning a little bit earlier for Instagram, Linktree is a great version or a great tool that does give you the free version and the opportunity to link to all your needed web links, separate menus, blogs, e-commerce, homepages, whatever you need.
And I just want to say real quick on Mailchimp, it is a free email software service up to a certain amount of list numbers. So once you have a certain number of subscribers, they will start charging you. I think it starts at like $9.99 a month, and then goes up from there. But if you are just kicking off your email marketing efforts, Mailchimp is a great place to start. And I think for more specific ideas on how you kind of grow those lists, again, think about how you incentivize people to give you their information. So, holding contests where, give us your email or send it for a newsletter and you'll be entered into a drawing. I know like recently I was out shopping and there was a business that had an app and they said, hey, if you download our app, we'll give you $10 off your sale today. Yes, absolutely. And you know what? I've looked at that app probably 2 or 3 times in the last month when I've gotten notifications. So there are really easy ways to incentivize your customers. And then also, cross-promoting what you're doing. So if you do have a robust email list, let people know in those email newsletters that you are on social media. Make sure you include those social icons. Let them know when you launch your Instagram account. Let them know when you have a newly launched website with e-commerce functionality. That's the easiest way to let people know. And then they're going to start signing up for those other services as well.
And like Danielle was mentioning, cross promoting is excellent. You know, those QR codes that you see everywhere these days, those are completely free to set up, and you can link them to pretty much anything: your website, your online ordering, your menus, even your social media, or signing up for your email marketing.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for that. And I have so many questions. I think the information that you gave was so awesome. And one thing that I kind of wanted to hit on that you guys were talking about was email marketing. So can we kind of talk to the person who maybe they're a small business and they feel like, no, I don't have the time to set that up. I know you guys mentioned, I believe it was Mailchimp, and how that's free to set up. Is that something that's user friendly that somebody can do on their own? And what are the benefits of that? Is it doing a disservice to their business not having an email list? Or can we kind of speak to that person who thinks that that's not something of high importance?
Yeah, so first of all, Mailchimp is very user friendly. It kind of uses like a block build where you can kind of say like, I want a text box here and I want a photo here. So it's really easy to make a really professional looking email. In fact, we at Sierra SD use Mailchimp for a number of our clients, even though we have a team of graphic designers and we have the abilities to work, outside of Mailchimp. We feel like we do that because not only does it work really well, but also if the client needs to get in and do something on the fly, they can make something that looks exactly like what we would do. Again, they might just not have the time to do that. So I think that the biggest thing is that when people think about email marketing, they think of like a very lengthy newsletter that they might get from a business, or from like maybe a large brand like Apple that has all these moving pieces and videos. And your email does not need to look like that. A lot of times you can replicate if you're really good at posting on your social media really regularly and have, really great graphics that you use, you can absolutely just use those for your email as well to make it look really pretty and engaging. If you have a flyer, you can actually embed your flyer that you're hanging, if you have a PDF and you're printing it and hanging it in your storefront, you can take that PDF, convert it to a PNG file and embed it into your email. So don't think of it as like another thing that you have to start from scratch. Think about the other marketing techniques that you're using and how you can not, you don't have to duplicate your efforts. You can usually use what you're using on one platform, resize it and use it on another. So that's the first half of it. And I think that you're also asking, is email marketing something that I should even be thinking about? And River, feel free to jump in on this, but I think that you're going to know your customer best. So again, if you have a pretty robust list, but your open rates aren't great, and it might be that your lists are outdated, or it might be that people genuinely aren't interested in what you're sending them via email. And so I think that, as you're looking, pay attention to your email analytics, pay attention to your unsubscribe list, because that's going to be really telling of, yes, I don't think that this is something that's going to be working for my business. And maybe we revisit it down the road, but now I have, all this energy or time that I can free up for these marketing initiatives that I know are working. And so does that answer your question a little bit? And River, feel free to build on that as well.
Yeah, and building on what Danielle said, if you're worried about maybe spending too much time, even after the initial setup, like once you get it put together, for the most part, 30 minutes to an hour. It's not super, like Danielle was saying, it's really user friendly. And you probably already have everything that you need to put into an email put together beforehand.
Okay, no, that's so good. And I think too, kind of just to tie those in together, you were saying with having an email list, a great way to get people on that email list is things such as incentives, like you were saying, the example you gave about having, so much money off a product or something like that. Another thing that you guys had mentioned was e-commerce. Can you guys kind of speak to the person who may be new to the online space and is not familiar with e-commerce, specifically in choosing one or the other? is there anything that you guys recommend to your clients to know, versus going with something like Shopify or Etsy, for example?
I think it's going to depend on the number of products that you are selling, and also what type of products you're selling. So again, Etsy is going to be more of that like niche custom. I can think of a handful of people that I know that sell on Etsy, and they do custom orders on things. So that's going to make a lot of sense to utilize something like that, because now Etsy is a place that's well known for that kind of thing. So if people are looking for something specific, like what you're offering, they're going to turn to Etsy to look for your product. Now, if you have like a number of items for sale, like a large amount, that's when you might want to start thinking about Shopify or WooCommerce for your website. Because really you're going to want to be able to offer everything you have for sale. And with some of these other examples that we gave, you might be limited to, showcasing 2 to 3 products. So if you are looking at, going online with, 20, 50, 100 plus products, you're really going to want to have a robust e-commerce functionality on your website. And so, River, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but I would really say it's going to depend on what your products are, and the number of products. And also, some of those examples that we gave of local and national kind of collectives who are offering, to showcase products. I know that there's tons more of them out there. So doing your research on some that maybe specialize on what you sell would be a good place to start as well.
Yeah, and speaking to like food restaurants, you might not necessarily want to go with either Etsy or Shopify. There are things like Chow Now, which is one that's really popular with a lot of websites. That is super, the customer service there is really easy to work with. They're a great platform, and it gives you the opportunity to drop in your menu and then just kind of have people go through the process of selecting what they want. And then it does everything like calculate the taxes. You can also enter tips there. So it's a really great platform if you're looking to move into online ordering or delivery.
Awesome. Such great resources.
Yeah, no, that's great. One of the questions that I had from a client is how many times, like they're a small retailer, how many times should I be posting? Because I don't want to go overkill on things and scare away my clients. Or how do I get my story out there about my business?
So really, I think that the 2 things that I always tell clients is quality over quantity, because some people think I have to post every single day. Quality of your posts over quantity, but also consistency. You don't want to, post, 5 days in a row and then go radio silent for a month. So, thinking about how you can kind of pre-schedule some of that content. So River mentioned a free software called Hootsuite, where you can actually go in, you can upload, the copy that you want for your post, as well as imagery, and you can schedule out a week's worth of content so that you only have to worry about it one day and then responding to comments or questions that come in, but you don't have to go in and manually post. Now, if you are someone who wants to post multiple times a day because you have a lot going on with your business, think about different ways that you can feature that content. So for example, have one post that maybe has multiple images. So if you are, for example, a clothing retailer, and you're like, we just got a new shipment of these new tops for spring, have a post about that, but then have up to 10 photos in your Instagram carousel where people can scroll through and look at each of those individual tops. Stories are a really great way where it's you don't feel like you have an overkill of posts, because people can look at your story and they can look through, 10 slides, or they can look at 2. But you really have some flexibility in terms of not exhausting your audiences when you use other features.
And consider that a lot of premium brands really only do post to Instagram maybe a couple times a week. They do one really good post a day. Maybe they'll go silent for 2 days and then they'll post another really good post. A lot of things that you might want to capture that our day-to-day, like Danielle was mentioning, are a lot better for things like Facebook or Instagram stories or Twitter fleets, I believe they're called, one of the newer stories. And those are really great for things like polls, like Danielle was mentioning earlier too. There are a lot of really creative ways that you can engage with your customers on social media without feeling like you're overdoing it or underdoing it. Stories that are like 10 slides long every day might be a little bit too much, but a story that's maybe 3 images, if you got a new shipment in, that would be perfect. Or if you want to put up stories about the menu items that you have that are either specials for that day or specials for that week, those will tend to do really well.
Wow. And I'm like, this information is so good. And I feel like even just listening how you guys started in the beginning saying, as a business owner, how are you going to create the things and do all the social media? It's a lot. And so I want to be respectful of your guys' time too. And can you tell our audience more about what Ciarza Social Digital offers to the small business owner who may be struggling with learning social media or who just doesn't have the time to do that?
Yeah. So Ciarza Social Digital kind of does the full gamut in terms of digital. So we do website design and development. We do social media content development, social media advertising, email marketing. We do traditional marketing. We do public relations. So River, am I forgetting anything?
I mean, the kitchen sink and reputation management, but
reputation management, which a lot of people don't think about when they think about their online marketing, which is, optimizing all of your review sites, responding to customers in a timely fashion. And so we do basically anything, that you can think of digital. But one thing that we wanted to offer to OAAA members is some sort of custom packages that you wouldn't really find on our pricing sheet regularly, because we know that there are a lot of business owners who are managing it all. For some that are, doing social media or doing email marketing, but they're just not sure if they're doing it right, or they know that there's areas of opportunities, they just don't know how to grow. We wanted to offer an audit where we would actually just take a look at what your current, social media efforts are or email marketing efforts are. We can identify those areas of opportunity and tips on how you can take advantage of those opportunities, plus a 1-hour consultation. We also can help you with drafting out a social media strategy if that's not something that you really dove into. You're like, I don't know if I need a TikTok or if I should just stick with my LinkedIn. What is Twitter even used for? We can help draft a strategy where we help you identify what channels your customers are using, and some of the different things that you can do on each of those platforms that are going to help drive brand awareness as well as sales. If you do want to kind of revamp a website, or you are looking to get a website off the ground, we are offering a special 1 to 3 page website build and maintenance, and that would be at $500 a month. We are asking for a 1-year commitment with that. Online reputation management, as I mentioned before, we would look at, claiming any, your Yelp, your Google My Business, keeping that optimized, helping you respond to reviews. We'd actually draft them and then work with you on how we respond to the customers. And then any of our lines of service, if you're interested in learning more about anything that I mentioned before, we are going to be offering some special discounts for members for any of our services not listed on this slide. So feel free to reach out to us if you do have any marketing needs, and we'd be happy to talk through some special pricing for you.
Awesome. And so how can our listeners, how can they get connected to you guys? Do you guys prefer that they call you guys, or can they email to learn more about the discounts that you're offering to them, or what's best for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can absolutely submit an inquiry form on our website, but I'm happy to drop our email, mine and Rivers, into, I don't know if it's easier to put it in the chat, or we can always hand that over to the office to kind of distribute. Yeah, they can reach out to us through our website, through our emails. We are always paying attention to our social media. So any way that they can find a way to contact us, we'd be happy to help you out.
Yeah, and then for website, it would be just siarza.com, SIARZA. And then, yeah, just go to the contact us page, submit your information, and we will look at it as soon as we get it.
Awesome. Well, we want to thank you guys so much for being our guests today. I think that the information that you guys have given to the community is very valuable. I think that it's going to help a lot of people who are pivoting from, brick and mortar or just starting out. So many businesses started during the pandemic. So, just being able to understand social digital marketing in a different way. So, we want to thank you guys so much for being our guests today. And we're excited to, be able to send people over to you guys because I'm sure they'll be in good hands going over. So again, we want to thank you guys. And for all those who are listening, if you guys have questions, again, you guys can reach out to the office and we can get you guys in contact with Ciarza Social Digital. River, can you repeat the website one more time for those who are listening?
Yeah, siarza.com, SIARZA.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. And we hope that you guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you
Yeah,
guys.
thank you so much for having us. We always love working with local organizations. We're especially happy to be working with the Office of African American Affairs. So it's been a pleasure working with all of you.
Awesome. Thank you. All righty. And Devin is going to take it on his end. If Daniela and River and Alex, if you guys can just hold tight.
Yeah.